Hello PLO Order, welcome to the latest video. Today's topic is multitabling. How to multitable, how to play more tables, and why should you multitable? Well, hold on tight, I will show you. First, the definition of multitabling is playing more than one table. So even playing two tables can be considered multitabling, because it has the same effect on your game as a concept, whether you play two tables, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20, 40, 50, who knows how many. And it's really important to just state that there are no rules on how many tables you should play. Often people think that I have to play 6 tables to be worthy poker player. Nonsense. You should not aim to play as many as possible just for the sake of being able to multitable. It's not a value you need to chase. Because in poker, in life, our objectives define our actions, not the other way around. So if your objective in poker is something that can be achieved by multitabling, then you multitable. But you don't multitable just for the sake of being able to multitable. You have to know why multitabling helps you to achieve your objectives. And different objectives might be in poker. Make money. That's the easy one. But we could have something else too. We could try to play more hands. We might be in a rate race. Of course, in the end, we would like to make money, but for the session, we just want to rake a lot, even when it means we're losing money on the session. We could play more hands just to create a database for ourselves, or get information on the player pool, so we can do a player pool tendency analysis. We just want to generate as many hands as possible, who knows. We might want to test our limits, and we might want to test our unconscious competence. And now, if you don't know what that monster word means, then don't worry. I will explain in the next 15 minutes. You just, try to remember unconscious competence. When we do multitable, what happens is this. And now, probably you want me to explain what this awesome multimedia presentation means. We have X and Y axis, and in the Y it's number, and on the X is amount of tables. And now this blue line means the quality of our decisions. When we add more tables, the quality of our decisions starts to go down. And when the quality of decision goes down, our win rate per hand goes down. Because it's just not possible that we play worse and win per hand more. That's impossible. When we play worse, we win less per hand. But the green line is our profits per hour. Because when we add tables, often the win rate, PP per 100, goes down a little. But we get so many more hands, more volume, that the overall profits go up. And then it's up to you to find the sweet spot. Here it would be exactly here. Of course, in real life, things are never this simple. But if you get the idea that if you play 50 tables, you probably don't win much. If you play one table, per hand you win more, but in the end, per hour, you don't make that much money. So you have to find where's the correct amount of tables if the objective is to make as much money as possible. And how to figure that out, well, I'm going to help you in this video. But before we get to the actual multitabling things, we need to talk about the range of skills. And this blue line was the quality of our decisions. So let's assume that in poker we could rate each one of our decisions from 1 to 100. Like in the previous one, On the top of the blue graph, it was 100, and when it goes down, the number would go down. So 100 is the best possible decision, and it's not just the action you select, it's how you got there. So it's the thinking process, like c-betting flop. You could c-bet the perfect amount, but the thinking process is not your absolute best. Why we make the bet, and so on. Why that sizing, and so on. So this is hypothetical, this is theoretical. In real life, it's impossible to rate decisions like that. But in theory aspect, let's say we could. Let's say this is a video game. And in average session, we make thousands of decisions. Some of those are conscious, some of those are subconscious. But let's say we make thousands of decisions, and each one of those is rated from 1 to 100. Then average poker session might look like this. Here is average Joe. On this axis is the number of decisions, and on the bottom is the quality of decision from 1 to 100. And in our session, we get this bell graph or bell curve for average Joe. So Joe makes a couple of decisions that are 100 or very close. And then he makes few not so great decisions. But most of his decisions are here between 60 and 80. But the range of his skills is from here to here. Then we have exceptional Eric, who knows exactly the same amount of theory about poker. So exceptional Eric's best decisions are as good as average Joe's. So exceptional Eric knows the same thing about poker as exceptional Eric, but the average Joe, but for some reason Eric's graph looks like this. So his worst decision is still 50, but most of his decisions are around 90. So most of his decisions are really good. And this is important concept because they both know same things. So one could say that they are as good players, but according to this graph, it's far from truth. Eric is performing at higher level. And that's the thing. We might know the same thing as my opponent, but we perform at higher level, which means we make more money. So, if this is clear to you, let's move forward. If you're a bit confused what just happened, then rewind, spend a few minutes thinking about it, because it's important to understand this one. And if we would talk about learning process and studying, then we would talk about how to move the front end, back end, forwards. That's a different topic for a different video. But it's just you understand range of skills. It's not what you know, it's also how you perform it. And how to make yourselves exceptional Eric instead of average Joe. Well, then we enter the world of levels of skills. Basic psychology of learning, you might have heard this one before. But we have 4 levels for skills. And the first one is unconscious incompetence. And it means we don't know the skill exists. First level of skill. Example, when you were born, you didn't know that there are cars. You didn't know that people drive them. Or when you first saw poker and wanted to play poker, you didn't know a thing about merge 3-betting out of position. No idea that was even a thing. But then when you understand that, okay, some people can do that, but I can't, it's conscious incompetence. When you were 2 years old, you realized that mom and dad drives a car and I can't. Or you started to study poker, you watched a YouTube video where someone explained that, okay, out of position, blind versus blind, we should blah blah blah, do this and that and that. Merge 3-betting out of position, semi-merge 3-betting with polarized, blah blah blah. Way over your head, but you understand that, okay, some people can do really complicated shit. I can't. Conscious incompetence. And then when you start to practice it, you enter the level of conscious competence, which means you can do it with concentration. So this is when you enter the driving school and you get your driver's license. Then you can drive a car, but you have to focus the pedals. What was the brake? What was the gas? And what gear should I put in? You have to focus on the traffic rules. I mean, you can drive the car, but you have to control it. You have to think what you're doing. But when you do it for a few years, it becomes automatic. It becomes unconscious competence. Then when you go to the car and start driving, you don't have to think what was the gear we have to put first and how should I press the pedals. You can talk with your mate, you can listen to music, you just drive. Most of the traffic rules, you don't have to think them, you just know them. And so on. It's very automatic. And if I ask you what's 1 plus 1, you instantly know that it's 2. But when you were a toddler and someone asked you, hey, what's 1 plus 1? You did this. 1 plus 1. Oh, it's 2. It wasn't automatic, but now it is. If I ask you what's 517 plus 604, you have to think a little. Okay, how much is it? It's not automatic. So you can see that the things you have done the most becomes automatic. And the only way to get something to automatic level is repetitions. There are no shortcuts. And that's where people go wrong. They watch a video of merged tree bedding and they think that, okay, I can do it now. But they don't do it on the table. Because it's not automatic. There's a lot of effort, a lot of conscious thinking. And conscious thinking is slow. Unconscious thinking is fast. And that's the main difference. That's why we want to learn the skills to unconscious level, because then the decision and thinking process happens in our subconscious mind and it becomes fast. Because in poker, time is the enemy. Let's take an imaginary situation where we open pre-flop, we see bet the flop, and turn is a scare card, and what goes in the head of average Joe? First 7.5 seconds, Joe is thinking that, damn, that's a bad turn. Fuck me. 10 seconds, oh, does this turn help my opponent? I don't know. Next 7.5 seconds, oh man, I don't have much of a hand. Oh dear, oh Christ. And then when the timer starts to beep, he's thinking, hey, could I bluff my opponent? And you can see that 30 seconds is pretty wasted. There's no strategical thinking. There's nothing that helps in playing the hand except the last 5 seconds when he gets that aha moment. We don't have a hand, can I bluff? And boom, timer runs out, he's sitting out wondering, this poker is so hard. Exceptional Eric, boom, 4 seconds, what's my hand strength? 5 seconds, how the turn hits my opponent's range, because Exceptional Eric defined the range in his subconscious mind on pre-flop and flop based on the action. So when we enter the turn, he already knows the opponent's range in his subconscious mind. He doesn't have to think about it, he just knows it. It's like 1 plus 1. And he knows how it hits his range. And then 5 seconds, what's my standard line? In this situation versus my opponent's range on this turn card with this hand, standard line, and all this took less than 15 seconds. Then Exceptional Eric has more than 15 seconds to think about if we have a HUD, can we check any nodes, any reads, stack sizes. Then we even have a few seconds to think about different lines. With this information from the HUD or nodes, can we adjust, should we adjust, and so on. So you can see that Exceptional Eric's thinking process for the 30 seconds is a lot better. It helps him to win the hand more often than average Joe's. And the thing is that if exceptional area practice a little more, then to this point of standard line, it could happen in 3 or 4 seconds if it's automatic enough. You just know that, okay, we bet here. And then someone asks why, then you can start to unravel your subconscious mind. You know why, but you didn't think about it because it was in your subconscious mind, because that's damn fast. If you haven't practiced them, you can get to the conclusion, but it takes a lot more time. And now the thing is, when you start to multitable, the time for individual decisions goes down. For one table, you have 30 seconds to make a decision. If you play 2 tables, and let's say they would, all the hands would start at the same time and so on, then on average, you would have, if they happen at the same time, you would have half of the time to make a decision. Of course, they don't happen at the same time, so it's not that simple. But you will have less time for one decision. When you add 3rd table, the time to make a decision goes even down. Even when the time bank is same, but if you have 3 decisions at the same time, you can use 30 seconds on each of those. If they start at the same time and timer is 30 seconds, you have 10 seconds per decision on average. And that's why we want to save time. And the key to multitable is to make your skills to level 4 automatic. And the only way to do that is by repetitions. Now, about multitabling, some rule of thumbs: if you sit out constantly, you have too many tables. If you sit out once, it might be that you had tough decision on big pot on 2 tables that required your concentration. But if you sit out constantly, then probably you play too many tables, you don't have time to make decisions on every tables, and your timer runs out and you sit out. Also, if you're being hurried constantly, that's a warning sign. You're not yet sitting out, but the timers are giving you the warnings on each table. It shows you that we are very close of playing too many tables. I have to make hurried decisions. I don't have enough time to think my decisions, which would result of making bad decisions. Remember the graph in the beginning. When we multitable, the average quality of decision goes down because we don't have enough time to think for them. But the more your skills are at level 4, the less the quality drops. Also, if you get bored and you have time to watch Facebook videos, chat on the Skype, do whatever you want, then you might have too few tables. So if you get bored, that also drops the quality of decisions because your concentration is not on the tables. So you might want to add tables and just find the sweet spot where you are not hurried, but you are not bored. And the thing is that when you learn skills towards the automatic level, it means then you can add more tables. So it's like the number of tables goes on pretty much when you learn skills to level 4, not before. Sometimes people think that, okay, if I just play 10 tables, I will get used to it. And if they just play 10 tables, well, it's not going to help them. You don't learn skill, or you will eventually, but the learning curve is so low. It takes a lot of time. So if you want to multitable, you have to find out what prevents you. What decisions take long time? Is it pre-flop? How good is your automatic pre-flop? How good is your basic flop strategy? And so on. It's good to understand that if you make bad decisions when you are multitabling, the core reason is not the amount of tables. The core reason is bad strategy and or level 4 skills. Of course, the multitabling brings out the problem, but the core problem is not the number of tables, it's the lack of level 4 skills. So to fix the problem, you have to focus on improving skills to level 4, which means you will have more time, which means better decisions. And then really important thing in the end is you can change the number of tables when you play, even in the middle of session or between the sessions, based on your level of performance. People think that, okay, I'm normally playing 6 tables, I have to play 6 tables. That's the rules of poker. You will be burned in a bonfire if you don't play 6 tables every time. That's not true. If you're tired, you know that, oh, I'm tired today. Maybe I should just play 4 tables. Or, oh, there's a lot of distraction. I have a kid running around the house. Maybe I should just play 2 tables and focus on them if I want to put some volume in. Or, I'm feeling exceptionally well today. I'm sharp. Maybe I could add 1 and see what happens. If it doesn't work, okay, let's drop. I dropped 1 table. Oh, still being hurried. Let's drop 1. So, don't get fixated on the set rules for yourself. Change it. It's up to you. And there's no right, no wrong way to play poker. But to multi-table, the key is on level 4 skills. And preflop is a good example. If you practice preflop enough, then you just know what hands to play. You don't have to think. And that's the outcome of repetitions. You can do the same for flop strategies, heads-ups, multiways, turn, rivers. I mean, the limits of human brain, well, it's not infinite, but almost. You will see some exceptional human beings who can do weird stuff with their brains. And in theory, you can learn any skill to the level of unconscious competence, even complete solver strategy. But of course, that would be insanely hard, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some miracle kid somewhere who spends 40 years of practice in solver strategy and then could do it on unconscious competence level. Most of us can. But the more complicated the skill is, the more repetitions it takes to learn into unconscious competence. So that's why you have to practice hard things a bit more than the easy ones. But it also means that if you want to multi-table, you need to practice the easy stuff over and over. That's why world-class athletes practice basic things every day, because they want to increase the level. They know how to pass the ball, how to shoot it, but they still practice it every day. Same in poker. You know preflop, all right? What if you every now and then practice it a little? Practice 3-betting ranges, 4-betting ranges. Make those decisions a bit faster. Basic flop strategy, when to see bet heads up in your standard strategy. The more you practice it, the more time you have on the tables to make even more complicated thinking processes, which means that the level of your game goes up. But if the time is taken with the ground level decisions, it doesn't matter how much you learn new strategies, you don't have the resources, the time to make those when you're multi-tabling, or even one-tabling, who knows. So, I hope this clarifies what's required to multi-table. It's not just you have to get used to play many tables. That's the wrong way to think about it. When your subconscious mind works enough of skills, that's when you can multi-table. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one. Have a safe journey back home. I see you next time. Bye-bye.